What if I told you that the loudest roar you will ever make won't come from your voice at all, but from the undeniable proof of what you create? The kind of roar that silences every critic, every laugh, and every doubt without you ever saying a single word. The world has a way of sizing you up before you've even had the chance to take your first real step. People glance at you, listen to a few words, maybe catch a glimpse of what you're trying to do, and in that single moment, they decide everything about you. They decide what you're capable of, how far you'll go, and whether or not you belong. Most of the time, their decision isn't in your favor. That's how people operate. They judge quickly, harshly, and with very little evidence. It doesn't matter what's inside you. It doesn't matter what you've been through. And it doesn't matter what you're willing to sacrifice. What matters to them is the snapshot they take in their minds, and from that, they build their doubts. They'll whisper about how naive you are, how impossible your goals look, or how foolish you must be to even try. They might even laugh openly, not because they know your limits, but because it's easier for them to doubt you than to face their own insecurities. When you walk into a room, you can feel it. The stares that weigh you down, the smirks that suggest you don't belong. Doubt isn't always shouted. Sometimes it's in the subtle ways people ignore you, in the way they move on quickly when you speak, in the way they choose someone else to believe in. Those quiet judgments cut deep because they're invisible walls you keep running into. And yet, those walls aren't built out of truth. They're built out of other people's fear, envy, or limited vision. They judge you based on their ceiling, not your potential. They measure you by the narrow confines of what they believe possible, never once considering that your fire burns differently. The cruel part is that their judgment doesn't stop at the surface. It seeps into you if you're not careful. You start to hear their voices when you're alone, second, guessing every decision, questioning whether maybe they were right. That's how powerful doubt can be when it's projected onto you. It convinces you to hold yourself back before you even try. But here's the truth. Their judgment is not a prophecy. It's not a sentence carved into stone. It's a reflection of them, not you. They don't know the hours you're willing to put in, the sacrifices you're ready to make, or the resilience you've built through the battles they'll never see. The world will always judge first and doubt first because it's easier to doubt than to believe. Belief takes courage. Belief requires vision. Most people don't have that, so they default to disbelief. That's why you can't let their quick verdicts become your truth. You've got to recognize that being underestimated is part of the journey. It means you're daring to do something beyond the limits of ordinary eyes. The judgment you face isn't a barrier, it's a signal. A sign that you're stepping into territory that threatens the comfort zones of others. And if they doubt you, that's not your weakness. It's your cue to rise. People love to talk, and they love to make promises even more. Words are the easiest tool to use because they cost nothing. Anyone can say they're going to achieve something. Anyone can say they're working hard. And anyone can claim they have a dream big enough to change the world. But if there's one truth that never fails, it's this. Words alone don't move people. They might inspire for a moment, they might catch attention in passing, but they don't stick. Talk fades as quickly as it's spoken, because without evidence behind it, it becomes just noise. That's why arguments, explanations, and long speeches rarely silence doubt. You can try to tell people about your vision, you can try to justify your path, you can plead for them to understand, but at the end of the day, their minds won't shift because of what you say. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone talk about their goals, only to see them quit after a week? How many times have you heard someone swear they were going to change, but nothing about them ever actually did? This is why words lose their weight. They're fragile when left alone, and most of the world has already been let down too many times by people who only knew how to talk. So when you tell them your dream, when you tell them about your ambition, their instinct is to roll their eyes, not because you don't matter, but because they've heard it before from people who never followed through. That is why words, no matter how passionate, rarely change doubt into belief. When you're chasing something bigger than yourself, you'll face those moments when explaining seems like the easiest route. You'll want to defend yourself against the voices that say you can't. You'll want to lay out every reason why it will work, why you're different, why they should believe in you. But no matter how perfectly you explain, no matter how flawless your argument, it will never carry the same weight as action. Action is undeniable. Action leaves a mark that no words can erase. The doubters can argue with what you say, but they can't argue with what you do. They can dismiss your dream as impossible, but they can't dismiss the proof that you're bringing it to life piece by piece. This is where most people get stuck. They spend their energy talking about what they'll do instead of doing it. They burn out explaining their vision instead of building it. They get trapped in debates that will never end instead of focusing on the one thing that silences every critic: results. Because when the results come, when the effort starts to show, words aren't even necessary anymore. The results do the speaking louder than any argument ever could. That's why words without action fall flat. But action without words echoes in every room long after you've left. There is a reason people say actions speak louder than words, because words can be doubted, twisted, or ignored. But actions carry a weight that no one can dismiss. When you take consistent steps toward your vision, even the loudest skeptic begins to run out of arguments. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to defend yourself, because your actions are the evidence that no one can dispute. Every time you push forward despite doubt, you carve proof into the world that you are serious about where you're going. And the more you keep showing up, the more undeniable your presence becomes. People might not respect what you say, but they cannot ignore what you build. Think about how silence changes when results arrive. At first, people may laugh, they may mock, they may dismiss your efforts as a waste of time. But then, slowly, your persistence begins to bear fruit. The goals you set start to become realities, the projects you dreamed of start to exist, and the doubters find themselves face with evidence they never thought they'd see. That moment is more powerful than any speech, because results silence critics in ways words never could. When you demonstrate progress, when you show growth, when your work begins to shine, there is nothing left for doubters to grab onto. They can't argue against what is real and standing in front of them. Consistency is what turns action into impact. One single effort may not shift opinions, but day after day of proof, effort after effort of visible change, stacks into a wall too high for doubt to climb. That is why persistence matters so much. Every day you act, you're stacking another brick of proof into your foundation. Doubt may feel heavy at first, but your actions build strength like steel, and soon the structure you've created overshadows the words of anyone who tried to bring you down. Actions transform not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. With every step forward, your belief grows stronger, and belief backed by action becomes unstoppable. The truth is, doubt is not defeated in conversations, it is defeated in execution. You don't need to convince the world with explanations, you need to prove yourself with movement. Each time you show that you won't quit, each time you deliver results, you speak a language everyone understands. That language is louder than speeches, louder than promises, louder than excuses. It's a roar built not with your mouth, but with your hands, your persistence, and your results. When you keep going despite the noise, when you deliver what they said you never could, you no longer have to shout to be heard. Your actions echo far beyond your words, and they leave behind proof that cannot be denied. The real strength of achievement is not built in the spotlight. It is shaped in the shadows where no one is watching. It is in those quiet, lonely hours when the world is asleep, and distractions fade away that real progress is made. Hard work in silence is often underestimated because it does not demand immediate recognition. But it is exactly this kind of discipline that builds momentum that no one can question. While others are busy talking about what they want to do, those who work in silence are laying the bricks of something lasting, something solid that can withstand the weight of doubt. Each small action, each hour spent focused on the task, each sacrifice made behind closed doors becomes evidence that eventually comes into the light in ways no speech or promise ever could. There is a certain power in choosing not to announce every move, because when you're not broadcasting your efforts, you're not distracted by validation or approval. Instead, you're focused entirely on execution. This creates an energy that grows stronger and more consistent, because you are building for yourself, not for the applause of others. That kind of quiet work builds resilience, because you learn to rely on your own discipline rather than the praise of an audience. It forces you to strengthen your willpower, to push through fatigue without the comfort of recognition, and to stay committed even when no one else notices. Those hidden hours become your greatest weapon, because they forge a discipline that doubters cannot see coming until the results are undeniable. When people finally notice, it looks like sudden success, but in reality, it's the product of countless hours no one bothered to witness. It's the mornings you woke up earlier than everyone else, the nights you stayed longer, the sacrifices you made without ever posting about them. By the time the world sees the results, the foundation has already been set so firmly that nothing can shake it. Doubt loses its grip in the face of proof, and that proof is born out of silent, consistent work. Critics may try to discredit your intentions, but they cannot erase the fact that you've built something real while they were busy talking. Momentum itself is one of the most powerful forces you can create, and it is only built through repetition. Each small step adds to the last, creating a rhythm of progress that is difficult to stop. The longer you work in silence, the stronger this rhythm becomes, until it turns into undeniable momentum that sweeps away every doubt and every voice that ever questioned you. When that moment comes, you won't need to announce it or explain it, because the results will stand as proof. Hard work in silence transforms effort into evidence, and evidence is the one thing no amount of doubt can ever destroy. Doubt has a way of cutting deep, but if you learn how to use it, it becomes one of the strongest fuels you can carry. Every time someone looks at you with disbelief, every time they tell you that you cannot, every time they mock or dismiss your vision, you are handed a choice. You can either let that weight drag you down, or you can burn it into energy that propels you forward. Doubt stings because it makes you feel unseen, underestimated, and overlooked. But inside that sting lies a spark. If you let that spark grow, it can light a fire that drives you harder than any compliment ever could. Compliments may feel good, but doubt challenges you. It dares you to prove people wrong, and in that challenge lies incredible power. There is something about being told you cannot do something that awakens a hidden strength. It pulls from you a kind of determination you might not even know you had. Doubt gives you a reason to fight, a reason to keep going on the days you feel like quitting, a reason to work harder than the voices that try to hold you back. It's a reminder that you are on a path that others cannot see, and because they cannot see it, they fear it. Their fear takes the form of doubt, but that doubt can be transformed into fuel if you choose to shift how you see it. Instead of asking, "Why don't they believe in me?" you can ask, "What will it feel like when I prove them wrong?" That question changes everything, because it takes power away from doubt and gives it back to you. Criticism and rejection are part of this same energy. They may feel like barriers, but if you take them in the right way, they become motivation to build faster, stronger, and smarter. Think about how many great breakthroughs in history came not from applause, but from rejection. Some of the strongest legacies were born because people refused to let doubt define them. They turned that doubt into a challenge, into a kind of fuel that never burned out. The more people questioned them, the more determined they became to succeed. That same fire is available to anyone willing to shift their perspective and use doubt instead of resenting it. The key is not to let doubt poison you, but to let it pressure you into strength. A diamond is formed under pressure, not under comfort, and doubt is exactly that kind of pressure. It tests your patience, it tests your willpower, and it tests how much you truly want what you're chasing. If you can learn to welcome doubt, if you can treat it as fuel instead of failure, then every criticism, every rejection, and every laugh at your expense becomes part of your energy. Doubt does not have to be a chain that holds you back. It can be the fire that pushes you further than you ever imagined. Every insult you hear, every rejection you face, every time someone dismisses your dream, you're handed an opportunity that most people overlook. It's easy to feel crushed when someone mocks your ambition or when doors slam shut in your face. But those moments are not dead ends. They are fuel stations if you choose to see them differently. An insult is just someone's attempt to place their limitations on you. But when you flip it, it becomes proof that you're daring to go where they never had the courage to go. Rejection is not a signal that you're unworthy. It's simply the world testing how badly you want what you're chasing. Each insult and rejection is a mirror, reflecting not your lack, but your strength to keep moving despite resistance. There is a certain kind of power that comes from transforming negativity into energy. Instead of wasting time arguing with the person who doubts you, you can let their words echo in your mind as motivation to keep pushing. You can remember the laughter, the dismissive looks, the harsh critiques, and use them as reminders of why you cannot afford to quit. Every time someone says you're not capable, you're being handed a challenge. Every time someone rejects you, you're being offered the chance to build your resilience. Without these obstacles, you'd never discover the depth of your own persistence. Doubt, rejection, and insults are painful, but they are also gifts because they force you to grow beyond what you thought was possible. Greatness is not built in the absence of rejection, it is built through it. Those who achieve something remarkable do not do so because everyone believed in them. They do it because they refused to stop when no one did. Every no they heard was turned into fuel for a bigger yes later. Every insult they endured was transformed into determination to rise higher. That's why the people who insult you, who laugh at you, who dismiss you, are actually contributors to your journey. They just don't realize it. Without them, you wouldn't have the same fire. Without their doubt, you wouldn't have the same hunger. It's important to recognize that insults and rejections are inevitable. No matter how talented you are, no matter how hard you work, not everyone will see your value right away. And that's exactly how it should be. If everything came easy, if everyone clapped for you from the start, you would never develop the resilience necessary to sustain success. The resistance is what shapes you. It builds the mental muscle to keep going when things get tough. It strengthens your discipline when motivation runs out, and it forges the kind of mindset that cannot be broken. Every insult is an invitation to prove someone wrong. Every rejection is a redirection to something greater. And every dismissal is an opportunity to roar louder with your results.